We're going to start factoring in Chapter 6, and we're going to begin with factoring out the greatest common factor. Basically, we are undoing the distributive property. So, 6x and negative 18. What is the biggest thing that you could divide out of both 6x and negative 18? 2, 3, 6. 6 is the biggest. So, we can divide 6 out of both of them. 6 times what would give us 6x? X. 6 times what would give us negative 18? Negative 3. So our factored form is 6 times the quantity x minus 3. If you need to, once you decide that the greatest common factor is 6, you can put a little divided by 6 underneath each term to help you visually see what you're doing. But basically, we are undoing the distributive property. You can check yourself by doing 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. 10y to the third minus 25y squared. Start with your numbers. 10 and negative 25. What do 10 and negative 25 have in common that you could divide out of both of them?
50. Wait. 5. Oh,
Other way, 5.
Whoa, yeah. Sorry.
Now the letters. Y to the third and y squared. The first term has 3 factors of y. The second term has 2 factors of y. So what is the largest number of factors of y that we could divide out of both of them? 2. So we are going to divide out y squared. If you need to, write divided by 5y squared underneath each term. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. Y to the third divided by y squared would just be y. Negative 25 divided by 5 is positive 5, and we're taking out that y squared. Try C on your own. Pause the video. If you're ever curious what in the world to put in a spot because it's like it goes away, it doesn't really go away. X squared divided by x is x. X divided by x. It doesn't completely go away. What is left? Oh, 1. So x times the quantity x plus 1. Now we're going to look at 3 terms. So 3xy squared minus 15x squared y plus 12xy. Start with the numbers. 3, negative 15, and 12. Definitely 3. I'm curious in the video if you can hear the music playing in the back of the room as clearly as the rest of us can. I know. Now the x's. Our first term has 1 factor of x. The second term has 2 factors of x. The third term has 1 factor of x. So we can only pull out 1 factor of x because some of our terms only have 1 factor of x to give. Other terms have 2. Then the y's. How many factors of y can we pull out? 2, 1, 1, 1. This one, it may be helpful to write divided by 3xy underneath each term. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. X divided by x is 1. Y squared divided by y is y. Negative 15 divided by 3 is 5. X squared divided by x is x, and the y's will cancel. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. The x cancels, the y cancels. Try B on your own. Pause the video. 2 possible ways that you may have factored this. Some of you may have 2 times negative x squared plus 4x minus 6. The other one would be negative 2. Whoa, crazy line. Positive x squared minus 4x plus 6. Both of these are technically correct. However, we like the second one better because eventually we are going to start factoring completely, where we factor out the greatest common factor and then factor more and then factor more. So the stuff inside the parentheses could be factored more. And when you continue factoring, you really want your x squared term to be positive. So anytime that there's a negative in front of your x squared term, or if the largest exponent term has a negative in front, factor out the negative right along with it. Okay. This is the beginning of factor by grouping. And there's a couple different ways to explain this. Basically, we have two terms here. Our first term is x squared times the quantity x minus 2. The other term is 3 times the quantity x minus 2. What do these two terms have in common? They have the x minus 2. So pull that x minus 2 outside of the parentheses, and then what's left would be x squared plus 3. That's one way to explain this. I want to show you another way to explain this that I think actually makes more sense, and it involves using two colors of pen, so bear with me. So, do you notice that the x minus 2 and the x minus 2 are exactly the same? The x squared and the plus 3 becomes one set of parentheses, and the identical x minus 2 becomes the other set of parentheses. Now, here's why this works. If I were to multiply these two binomials out, I would do x squared times x squared times negative 2. That's what you see right up here. Then we would distribute the 3. 3 times x and 3 times negative 2. That's what's written right there. So the top line is like the distributive property fully written out. The bottom line is collapsing that back down into the light blue parentheses and the purple parentheses. So take a guess. What do you think B is going to be? The first set of parentheses is 2x plus, what number is in front of this second set of parentheses? A 1. And then the second set of parentheses is this identical 3x minus 4. Now let's take this one step further by doing the entire factor by grouping process. So in this factor by grouping process, I want you to split this 4-termed polynomial into two groups. The first two terms are the first group, the second two terms are the second group. Now, in the first group, what do these two terms have in common? There's an x. What about the numbers? 2 and 8. What can we divide out of both 2 and 8? 2. And then for the x's, do we want just one x or do we want x squared? We want x squared. X to the third, there's 3 factors. X squared, there's 2 factors, so we can pull 2 factors out of both of them. If we divide both of these by 2x squared, let's see what we have left in the parentheses. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X to the third divided by x squared is x. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and the x squareds cancel. Okay, second group. What do 3x and 12 have in common? What can you divide out of both 3x and 12? 3. Here's a hint. Whatever symbol you see in front of the third term, use that symbol. If we are dividing both of these by 3, let's see what's left. 3x divided by 3 is x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Do you notice that the purple parentheses are exactly the same?
Yeah.
So then our final step is to collapse this. 2x squared plus 3 times the quantity x plus 4. Ta-da. Try B on your own. Pause the video. Give it a try. Split it into two groups. In the first group, 2x to the third and 4x. With the numbers 2 and 4, we can definitely divide both of those by 2. Crazy line. They also both have at least an x that we can pull out. So 2 divided by 2, x to the third divided by x would be x squared. Kind of need to take that call, but it's okay, it'll wait. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and there's the x's. In the second set of parentheses, we've got negative x squared and negative 2. If this symbol is a negative, you want to use a negative. What do x squared and 2 have in common? A 1. If they don't have anything in common, they have a 1 in common. So if I'm dividing both of these by negative 1, negative x squared divided by negative 1 is x squared. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2. So my final answer would be 2x minus 1 times x squared plus 2. Okay, on the very back of your notes packet, you have an assignment list. There's check boxes, so you can check off as you do each assignment. There's also blanks, so you can write the date that the assignment was given. Here it is.